Hi, you're watching Femvids. I'm Sian Rolls, and I'm back after a extended period of uterine pain. Of course, the pain will eventually be back, but let's just bask in the glory of its passing. And it's now time to tackle the serious stuff. Have you heard of the GMMP? It's time to tell you exactly what it is, word for word. The Global Media Monitoring Project is the largest and longest longitudinal study on the gender in the world's media. It is also the largest advocacy initiative in the world on changing the representation of women in the media. It's unique in involving participants ranging from grassroots community organizations to university students and researchers to media practitioners, all of whom participate on a voluntary basis. So, every 5 years since 1995, the Global Media Monitoring Project research has taken the pulse of selected indicators of gender in the news media, studying women's presence in relation to men, gender bias, and stereotyping in news media content. And among all of this, FemLINK Pacific has actually been part of it for quite a while. Well, as a women's media organization, as well as people having a vested interest in the representation of women, primarily with a lot of us being women, but also because we know a lot of women and hear from them very, very often. Very, very interestingly is the upcoming 2015 report. Our executive director is actually appointed the Global Media Monitoring Project ambassador, acting as the representative from the Pacific region. So, we're on the radar. And because the idea of examining how women are seen in the media, or at least how women are represented in the media, is incredibly important to us, we have been carrying out monitoring of our own. It used to be slogging through daily newspapers or updates throughout the past day, particularly with our local dailies, radio stations, television stations, including some regional news as well, where some of the other countries that we have networks with, trying to see how the women are being talked about there as well. But it's changed. It was decided that it was no longer going to be some invisible report that really nobody kind of saw. And to kind of start off a whole discussion about how women are talked about in the media, how women are represented in the media, we've opened up the monitoring quite a bit. We decided that we weren't just going to air out the discussion, but we were going to bring the discussion on air. Now, primarily, what a lot of the community media volunteers actually do is work on Femtalk 89 FM. I'm actually here right now in our office in the studio running the morning show, and as part of running the weekday morning show, I also host the weekday morning segment called Who Makes the News, where we primarily talk about what has come out in the news in the past day, focusing mainly on the most accessible form of media that we have. Unfortunately, it's not the most accessible form of media for a lot of people, particularly rural women. But it's what a lot of people depend on, especially with the upcoming elections and so on. We primarily look at the Fiji Times and the Fiji Sun, so that's our print media. We occasionally look to online to see what radio stations are putting out, what television stations have put out, what they've put out at least in the past day, as well as Radio New Zealand and Radio Australia to kind of gauge what regional news is saying, particularly about women. And for the low, low price of nothing apart from your usual internet bill, you could actually find the show podcasted, and it's available on our Mixcloud. So there are links to the Mixcloud and our Facebook page where we often update, I say we, I mean me, where I often put the link to whatever show we've had that day, and so that it's available for people to listen to and stuff. And if you're wondering whether this will take up your whole day just to find out what's come out in the news, each show is only about 10 to 15 minutes long, so you could enjoy the show during a tea break, preferably among a group of people, because really what I mostly enjoy about the show is the fact that I do get to discuss as a group what's actually coming out in the news. And funnily enough, the most recent comment is that sometimes the news is just full of politics, and there are very, very few women in politics, and even fewer women in politics actually making the news. So if you're interested in finding out what's coming out, or you want to let us know what you think, there's always the Mixcloud account or our Facebook page. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Sian Rolls. See you next time, and don't forget to listen to Who Makes the News every weekday morning. unless we have a power cut. Or a big meeting where nobody's actually in the office. Good times. See ya.